Yeah, I think recording is already started.
Now it is started.
Yeah.
So once again, welcome all the participants and our experts. Today we have expert Dr. P.E.S.N. Raju from Opel Technology, Bangalore. Sir will deliver his talk on the development and validation of artificial neural network uh, based tool for forecasting of power system inertia with wind farm penetration. So let me cite about the biography of Dr. P.E.S.N. Raju. Sir have received his bachelor and master degree in electrical and electronics engineering and advanced power system respectively from JNTU, Kakinada, India, that is the Jawaharlal Nehru Technical University. He has obtained his PhD in the discipline of electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Indore, India, in 2017. He was a postdoctoral research associate at the University of Manchester on a project titled Real-Time Monitoring and Control to Enable Transmission Network Transition. A work package 2 of MIGRATE stands for Massive Integration of Power Electronics Device Projects. For a period of 2 years, he is currently working as a specialist power system and power electronics in research and development department of Opel RT Technologies, Montreal, Canada. He has 14 publications in various international peer-reviewed journals and conferences. His research in interests includes modeling, analysis, operation, stability, and control of power system, microgrid with renewable energy sources integration, power electronics applications to power system, applications of optimization machine, and many more. Uh, Sir have also experts in the area of the real-time simulation of power system, microgrids with HIL hardware in the loop and PHIL power hardware in the loop techniques. So I request Dr. Yashan Raju sir, kindly start your presentation.
Yeah. So good morning to one and all. So thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to all the respected participants. So I'm going to share my screen of my presentation. So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So very good morning to one and all. So today I'm going to present on development and validation of artificial neural network based tools for forecasting power system inertia with wind farm penetration. So I was a postdoc at the University of Manchester as mentioned by Vijay Pratap Singh sir. So this was actually part of my postdoc work. Currently I'm working as a specialist in R&D Opel technologies. So coming to the outline of presentation, so I'm going to give the brief on the what is the migrate project, what are the objectives of my presentation, and in that we have the what is the introduction like, what is the power system inertia, what are the different types of the wind turbine generators, and which one is going to contribute the inertia, which one is not going to contribute the inertia, how the inertia is going to change with the large integration of the wind farms. So in that, I will give briefly why we have motivated to apply the artificial intelligence to this estimation of the power system inertia. And after that, I will discuss on the how we can develop the tools and how we can validate these tools, like procedure for development as well as validation. And after that, I will give the some results and discussions how we can apply this development and validation procedure for a simple test system like IEEE 9-bus system. And after that, I will give the conclusions. In that, I will give the how this development and validation procedure will help the in power system applications. So coming to the Migrate project, I was a postdoc in the Migrate project for 2 years at the University of Manchester, UK. So MIGRATE stands for Massive Integration of Power-Electronic Devices into Power System. So this project was started in the 2016. This was actually EU funded, European Union funded project under framework of Horizon 2020. So by that time, European Union people and UK people targeted for the renewable integration, like wind farms integration in the pan-European transmission network by the 2020, so that they want to study the how this increased penetration of the renewable integration will affect the power systems, like how the growing dynamic stability issues of the power system, how we need to upgrade the production schemes when we are going for the more integration, how we can take the mitigation actions. So when we are going for the more integration of the powertronics, so this will cause the power quality problems, and how we can mitigate, how we can monitor these power quality problems, as well as how we can go for the harmonic propagation. And you can see that we have divided this project into 5 work packages, 5 main work packages, and remaining 3 are post-processing packages. If you see the work package 1, it is mainly related to the power system stability issues under the high penetration of powertronics. And work package 2, real-time monitoring and control. So this was the work package 2 where I was working there. And work package 3 related to the control and operation of the grid with the 100% renewable integration. And work package 4 dealing with the production schemes. And work package 5 dealing with the monitoring and mitigation of power quality issues in the power system when we are going for the more PE penetration. So as I mentioned that I was mainly part of the work package 2. It is a real-time monitoring and control of the power system with more PE penetration. So coming to the MIGRATE project members, as you can see, we have partners from the universities in the European Union, and we have the partners from the TSOs like TenneT, and you can see the Scottish Power from the UK. And as you can see from the England, UK, we were the only partner in this project, like University of the Manchester. So coming to the description of the work in the work package 2, so we were mainly working on the 5 objectives. The first objective was requirements for the monitoring and forecasting of the area inertia, as well as short circuit capacity. So as we know that when we go for the more PE penetration in the power system, the first 2 parameters which affect more are the area inertia as well as short circuit capacity. So our first objective was finding what are the requirements for the monitoring and forecasting of these two area inertia and short circuit capacity. And second objective was online monitoring and forecasting of the area inertia. So this was what actually I'm going to present. This was actually objective what I'm going to present in the coming slides. So in this, we have developed the measurement based methods, like as we know that we are moving to wide area measurement system based power system network, and we can use the measurements from the phasor measurement units, and we can monitor the area inertia as well as short circuit capacity. So at the university level, we need to develop some artificial intelligence based tools, and we have to validate those tools by using the pilot testing, and we have to give those tools to the TSOs so that they can test those tools with their network. So third objective was like monitoring and forecasting of the short capacity, and fourth objective was like estimation of mixed PE interface when we are going for the more PE interface loads, and when we have the more dynamic induction motor loads. And the last objective was online wideband oscillations from the very low frequency to high frequency, like very low frequency oscillations, low frequency oscillations, and subsynchronous oscillations. So in this objective, we were working on how we can monitor these oscillations and how we can take the mitigation of these subsynchronous oscillations or very low frequency oscillations. So this is a brief description of the work in the work package 2. So I'm going to present on the second objective, that is online monitoring and forecasting of area inertia. And in this, we have developed the ANN based tools. So I will give what is the procedure for the development, how we can validate these tools at the university level, and how we can do the pilot testing of these tools. So coming to the objectives of my presentation. So as I mentioned that in this presentation, so I'm presenting what is the procedure for the development and validation of the artificial neural network based tools, which utilizes the power system variables, particularly measured by the phasor measurement units through wide area measurement system. So coming to the, as I mentioned that we have the two stages. One is the development stage, another one is the validation stage. So coming to the development stage, it mainly involves the, first we have to find the, what are the best power system variables that can be nominated as the inputs. As you can see, we have developed the artificial neural network based tools. So we need the best inputs. We have to select the, what are the best inputs to estimate the inertia of the power system. So for that, in the development stage, we have done the correlation analysis to find the best power system variables. So once we finalize the, what are the best inputs for this estimation of the inertia, so then we can train the artificial neural networks by using one of the most utilized algorithm that I will discuss in the coming slides. So this involves the correlation analysis and the training of the artificial neural network based tools. And coming to the validation stage, so we need to validate the functionality of this tool by capturing the real-time signals or the real power system network data, by importing these data into that tool, and we have to check that how this tool is estimating, giving the results in the pilot testing environment or the real power system network environment. So finally, we have given the development validation procedure, and we have taken the one test system, standard IEEE test system like IEEE 9-bus modified test system, and we have demonstrated this method on this simple IEEE 9-bus test system. So this work has been published recently in the IEEE Systems Journal. If someone is interested to read this paper, you can go through this paper. So coming to the power system synchronous inertia. So as you can see, we can say power system inertia, but I have mentioned the synchronous inertia. So why I have mentioned the synchronous word is, like nowadays you can see that inertia, we have the synchronous inertia, we have the virtual inertia, and we have the synthetic inertia, like we have the different terminologies. So in order to avoid that confusion, when I am talking about the inertia, it is only power system synchronous inertia. So for that, I am giving the word, I'm adding the word synchronous inertia. So power system synchronous inertia mainly resulted from the rotating masses of the synchronous generators or the directly coupled induction motor loads. So this will mainly release or absorb the kinetic energy when there is a mismatch between the power supply and demand in the system. It mainly plays the important role in the determining the rate of change of frequency. When there is a large difference between the power generation and the load, and you can see that there is a large change in the frequency, so that we will have a large rate of change of frequency. So as we know that ROCF is mainly important in the some production settings, production equipment design, and also this ROCF also used in the some control settings. So when we have the accurate estimation of the ROCF, and we can change those control settings, and we can have a proper production system in the system. Furthermore, it also prevents the sudden change in the grid frequency. When there is a sudden drop in the load, when there is a sudden change in the generation, this inertia will be act as a resistance to that change, so that you can minimize that frequency deviations, or you can minimize that change in the rate of change of frequency. And if you see that when we have the larger synchronous inertia, and you will have the lesser variations in the rate of change of frequency, or less difference between the power generation and the load demand. But nowadays we are mainly concentrating on the, as we know that we are mainly concentrating on the carbon dioxide, removing of the CO2 emission. So for that, we are moving towards the renewable energy sources integration. So among these renewable, we know that renewable energy sources are like, we have the PV generation and we have the wind farms. So among these renewable energy sources like PV generation and wind farms, so in our Western countries, in like UK countries, so there they have the less solar radiation. So they are mainly concentrating on the wind farms penetration. So we were mainly working on the wind farms penetration. And also we also have the some most promising economical technical aspects in the Western countries for the wind farms as compared to the PV panels. So we were mainly concentrated on the wind farms. So coming to the, when you go for the higher level of penetration of these intermittent sources or the variable renewable energy sources, so that will cause the severe technical issues like we have the frequency instability problem, we will have the rotor angle instability, voltage stability issues, we may have the congestion management, like we have the system restoration in case of power collapse. So like that, we have some different technical issues when we increase the penetration of these renewable energy sources like wind farms. So coming to the power system inertia, I think most of you know the definition of the power system inertia, how we are going to calculate the power system inertia. So it is the ratio of the kinetic energy of the system to the radial dependent power of the system. So as you can see, we have given the equation for the inertia. So it is only for the, when we have only the synchronous generation, when we are considering the static models of directly coupled induction motor loads. But suppose when you consider the physical accurate models of the directly coupled dynamic IM loads, these induction motor loads also contribute the inertia to the power system network. So in that case, inertia is going to change like this. So as you can see in the numerator denominator, we are adding the inertia contribution from the induction motor load and total induction motor load in the system. So coming to the power system inertia with wind farms. So as we know that wind farms are mainly composed of wind turbine generators. So these are usually connected in the distributed manner within the farm. So like in the conventional synchronous generators, we also connect all the power produced by the wind farms connected at the one substation. We will inject the entire bulk power at the one substation. If you see the wind turbine generators, we have the two types of wind turbine. We have many types, but mostly people will say that two classification. So one is the fixed speed, another one is the variable speed. So coming to the fixed speed wind turbine generators, so these are usually directly connected to the grid. Hence, these also will contribute the energy to the system. So there would not be much change in the droop and inertial response. And if you see that in the fixed speed wind turbine generators, we usually use the spiral case induction generators. So coming to the variable speed, so these are mainly interfaced through. So as you can see, when we have the fixed speed that produces the power at frequency 50 or 60 Hz, but coming to the variable speed, that provides the power at different frequency. So, but however, we need to maintain the constant frequency. So for that, we are interfacing these variable speed wind turbines with the power electronic converters. So in the variable speed wind turbines, we have the two classification. One is the type 3, another one is the type 4. So type 3 is having doubly fed induction generator, and type 4 having full converter system with permanent magnet synchronous generator. It can be any, but we are using most of the cases PMSG. Coming to the fixed speed, we have the type 1 and type 2. So I will give all these diagrams in the coming slide. So nowadays, most of the people nowadays in the Western countries, most of the researchers are mainly concentrating on the variable speed wind turbine generators. So the reason behind this can be operated over a wide range of operating speeds, and also you can enable the variable speed operation. As we know that wind is the intermittent, it is the variable one. So it's better to capture that variable wind, and it's better to capture that variable power at variable frequency, and by using the power electronic interface, we can maintain that fixed frequency, and we can couple to that frequency to the grid system. So these are the various types of wind turbine generators. As we can see that we have the type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. So as I mentioned, the type 1 mainly have the spiral case, type 1, type 2 mainly have the spiral case induction generator, and type 3 have the DFIC, doubly fed induction generator with back-to-back power converter. It is the off-rated converter. And type 4 will have the full rated converter with PMSM or other synchronous generator machines. So now we will see how the power system inertia is going to change with the consideration of the variable speed wind turbine generators. So if you see the previous equation, in the previous equation, as we know that when we are integrating this variable speed wind turbine generators to the power electronic interface, so these will not be directly coupled to the grid. So these will not contribute any inertia to the power system. So if you see the expressions, in the numerator, we have the energy stored in the energy stored in the synchronous generator that will be directly coupled to the grid and it will supply to the grid. So when there is a change in the load or generation, but you can see that when you increase the wind generation, that generation is going to, when you reduce the synchronous generation, when you increase the wind generation, numerator will be constant, but denominator is going to change. So when you increase the wind generation, denominator is going to increase. That means system inertia is going to decrease. That means when we are integrating the variable speed wind turbine generators, so this will not contribute any inertia to the system. At the same time, it will increase the total power capacity in the system. So that leads to reduction of the inertia in the power system. So at the same time, when we consider the dynamic accurate models of the induction motors, we can also include the inertia contribution from the induction motors and the inertia from the total capacity of the induction motors in the equation 4. So this is just like previous expressions. We have without wind turbine capacity, and with this, after integrating the variable speed wind turbines, we are including the total capacity of the wind turbines, and that reduce the system inertia. So what is the main motivation why we have developed the AI, means artificial neural networks for the power system inertia estimation? So as we can see, in the last recent years, we have the artificial intelligence applications in the many power system applications. Like we have the artificial intelligence techniques like artificial neural networks, expert systems, genetic algorithms, evaluation computation techniques, fuzzy logic. Like we have the different algorithms, artificial intelligence techniques, and we have applied these techniques to different power system applications like power system planning, power system operation, control, production, and forecasting, different applications. If you see the power system planning applications, so this mainly combines the generation expansion planning, transmission expansion planning, reactive power planning, and power system reliability, and so on. And if you see the power system operation applications, it includes the economic load dispatch, unit commitment, hydrothermal coordination, congestion management, and maintenance scheduling, load flow. Like we have the different applications. If you see the control, we have the power flow control, stability control, load frequency control, and dynamic security assessment. If you see the forecasting applications, we have the electricity market forecasting, short-term load forecasting, long-term load forecasting like solar and wind power forecasting. Like we have the different applications, and we have been using these AI techniques efficiently in the most of the power system applications. So then we motivated that why can't we use this artificial intelligence technique to estimation of the power system inertia. As we can see, I think you might have known that if you see the inertia estimation methods, in the most of the estimation methods, what we are doing is, so we are injecting some disturbance so that we will have some rate of change of frequency. And from that rate of change of frequency, we are finding the system inertia and we are estimating the system inertia. So what we are doing is we are externally injecting the disturbance. So that may create some other problems in the power system. So that may not be the feasible method. So that we have motivated that we don't want to inject any disturbance into the system. We want to monitor the normal operating power. We want to monitor the inertia of the normal operating power system by using the phasor measurement units. So these are the main motivations why we have utilized the wide area measurement system and why we have utilized the artificial neural networks for the application of forecasting of the inertia of the power system. So coming to the development and validation procedures, first I'm going to discuss on what is the development procedure, what are the steps in the development procedure of the artificial neural network based tools. So if you see that, first what we are doing is we are modeling the standard test system or the real power system network in the power system analysis software. So in our present application, we have utilized the Dixieland Power Factory. So in that we have modeled the standard test system or any real power system network, and we have done the power system analysis so that we can we have performed the power flow analysis simulations to obtain the power system variables that can be measured by the PMUs. So coming to the PMUs, what variables can be measured is like voltage phasors, current phasors. From that voltage phasor, current phasors, you can find the active power, reactive power, all these things. So what is our target is, we want to target the power system variables like voltage, currents, active power, reactive power, which are measured by the PMUs. and we want to utilize those variables, and we want to estimate the power system inertia by using those variables measured from the PMUs through VAMs. And after that, we need to identify once we got all the power system variables, so in that power system variables, we need to identify which are the best power system variables. So that can be nominated as inputs for the inertia forecasting tools. For that, we have mainly utilized the correlation analysis. And after that, we need to, once we finalize the inputs, best inputs and outputs like synchronous inertia, and we will train the artificial neural network tool by using one of the algorithms, most used algorithms. And we will train that algorithm like using the LM backpropagation algorithm. This was the most utilized algorithm. So that can be also available in the MATLAB. So you can easily train that tool by using the MATLAB platform. So this is how we have developed the tools. So I will give the one by one. I will explain how we have done. So as I mentioned that first we have taken the standard power system network, and we have done the power flow simulations. In the Dixieland Power Factory, we have an advantage like Dixieland Power Programming Language. We can write the DPL code and we can do the many iterations. So what we want to take as more data to train the tool efficiently. So for that, what we have done is we have varied the displaced generation of the photonic interface generation in steps of 5%. Also, you can also reduce that to 2%, 1%, but we have done for the 5% in one step. So like that, we'll get the 20 operating points. So the replacement scenario can be, you can replace the one synchronous generator with the one wind farm, or you can also replace the two synchronous generation forms with simultaneously with two wind farm generation. So like that, you can replace one by one, or you can replace simultaneously. So like that, you can do the many iterations using the DPL code, and you can capture all the data of the power system variables like voltage, currents, active power, reactive power. You can also capture what is the inertia of the power system. So when you change the generation, so like that, you can capture all the power system variables and system inertia. So for the percentage, means we have calculated the percentage photonic penetration by using one index. It is called as a power electronics to load ratio. So it is defined as it mainly indicates what is the part of load that is covered by the power electronic interface generation. If you see the mathematical expression, in the numerator we have the total wind generation, we have the DC import, and in the denominator we have the load system. So that mainly indicates how much load we are covering with the total wind power generation as well as HVDC, like power electronic interface lines. So this is the main indicator. For that, we are giving as this much of penetration. This much of penetration covered, like this much of load is covered by the PE penetration. So as I mentioned that we have utilized the correlation analysis for finding the best system attributes or best system variables. If you see that, as I mentioned that the power system variables mainly consists of the active and reactive power generation of the all synchronous generators, active and reactive power generation of the power electronic interface generation, voltage magnitudes, angles, the nodes, and you can see the active and reactive powers of the loads, and you can also see the active and reactive power of all the lines. Look, we are taking the data of all the power system variables corresponding to the synchronous generation, corresponding to the power electronic interface generation. We are taking the voltage magnitudes, voltage angles, active and reactive powers of the loads, lines, all the variables we are taking, and we are seeing that how all the variables are fit to the artificial neural networks, which will be having the more correlation with the power system inertia. So for this,
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, we have one question from Jayashri Vadin.
Okay.
Please explain the ANN LM backpropagation configuration.
Yeah, I will explain in the coming slides, sir. Maybe I think it will come in the coming slides.
Okay. Thank you. Please continue.
Yeah. See, LM backpropagation algorithm is a well-established algorithm. So I don't think so. I will give you briefly on what is the LM backpropagation algorithm. So it is just application of the artificial neural network, how we are applying this algorithm to the estimation of the power system inertia. So I think I haven't given the much more detailed on the LM backpropagation algorithm, since it is the well-established one, and it is available in the literature as well. Okay, coming to the correlation analysis. So we have the one coefficient. It is the Pearson correlation coefficient. It is the most utilized for the finding the correlation between the two variables. So that we have utilized one. So the PCC gives the measure of the linear correlation between the two sets of the variable. If the correlation coefficient basically vary from the 0 to 1. If it is near to 1, that means we have the best correlation. And if it is less than 0.5 or near to 0, and we have the weak correlation between those variables. So we have mainly taken the absolute values. We want to see the what is the absolute values, like a magnitude of the this correlation coefficient. It can be positive and it can be negative. If it is a positive coefficient, it is a linear correlation, and if it is a negative one, it is a inverse linear correlation. That means when there is an increase in the one variable, there is a decrease in the that correlation variable. So we have taken the absolute values, and we also taken the actual values like positive and negative values. So these things I will explain in the how we have applied for the test system. In that you will see that how we got the positive values, how we got the negative values. So how we have decided power system variables, best power system variables for training the ANN based tools. So coming to the training of the ANN based tools, as you can see, we need inputs and we need outputs, and we from the correlation analysis we can find the best system attribute that can be nominated as the inputs. So we have utilized the most basic type of ANN, so which is feed forward neural networks that travels the information from inputs to outputs in one direction, and it is usually used to solve in the many problems like pattern recognition, classification, and forecasting. And coming to the feed forward neural networks, the most common type of feed forward neural networks, like most established one, like most utilized one, it is a multi-layer perceptron neural network. See, this is actually what we have utilized in our paper. So it is not restricted to you. You also use same the feed forward neural network or multi-layer perceptron neural network. You can utilize whatever you feel the better, which one gives the better result. So we are just giving the what is the procedure and how we can validate. And we have utilized the one feed forward, and that feed forward we have utilized the MLP, and you can use the any other type, and you can train the any other type. So by using this procedure. So someone asked that like how we have taken the training. So as we know that in the most of the cases, the most of the training of the neural networks, we have used the LM backpropagation algorithm. It is as I mentioned, it is available in the MATLAB Simulink environment. So this mainly updates the parameter vector iteratively by utilizing the Jacobian matrix, also by utilizing the vector of the network errors by taking the damping factor. So as the LM algorithm, backpropagation algorithm is the most established one. So I have just given briefly how this updates the synaptic weights by using the iterative algorithm. So I haven't given the much more detail on this. If you want much more detailed, so you can go through the many papers available for this LM backpropagation algorithm, and it is a well-established one. So coming to, as I mentioned that I have given the one means how the MLP FNN looks like. So I have given this one. You can see in the diagram. So this is also a well-established one. So I have just referred the one of the papers, and I have given the diagram. So the most challenging task is we have to find the optimal number of the neurons in the hidden layer. So that is another challenging task. So for that, what we have done is we have taken the statistical indicators like mean absolute error, mean percentage error, and mean squared error. Like we have taken the three errors, and from that errors, so we have found the which one is the best optimal number of the neurons in the hidden layer. So this is only the procedure. So when you see the how this procedure has been demonstrated on the test system network, you will find the all these details. You will see the all these details will be reiterated. So in that results and discussion. So coming to the validation procedure, so we have done the training of the neural network. So now we need to validate the neural network by using the pilot testing or by using the real-time data. So for that, what we have done is in our university lab level, so we have the RTDS facility, RSCAD software facility. So from that RTDS, as we know that in the RTDS we have the software PMUs. We can also connect the hardware PM. We can also interface the hardware PMUs to that IEEE some power system network, and we can capture the real-time synchronous time synchronous data by using the software PMUs or the hardware PMUs. And we need to capture the data by using the OpenPDC in the IEEE standard. Like we have the standard like C37118 standard. And once we capture all the data, so we need to utilize the data into the MATLAB tool. So for that, we have used the one tool, that is the SADF tool. I will explain this tool. This tool is mainly utilized to interface the MATLAB, means the artificial neural network trained in the MATLAB environment, and the data captured from the RTDS. So we need to import the data into the MATLAB, and we have to utilize that. We have to do the post-processing of the data in the proper order, and we have to fed the data to the artificial neural network developed in the MATLAB environment. So we have the one SADF tool that can be used as an interface between the RTDS, OpenPDC, and SADF tool. So after that, we will check the how the inertia value is producing this artificial neural network tool. So when we are feeding the real-time data. So this is how the HCL testing facility looks like in our lab. So you can see that we have the RTDS facility, and we have the OpenPDC MATLAB in the one system, and we have the RSCAD runtime model in the one system. This OpenPDC MATLAB that includes the SADF tool as well. And we also, OpenPDC is a openly available free software, and you can utilize the OpenPDC for capturing all the PMUs data, and you can synchronize the data, and you can utilize the data to transfer into the another platform. So some people may have the hardware PDC as well, but for there we have utilized the OpenPDC. It is a available software, open source software. So you can see the conceptual view, and we have the PMUs at the different buses, and we have captured the data from those PMUs, and we have transferred the data to the OpenPDC concentrator to synchronize all the data through the Microsoft SQL server. You can also use the other servers, but in our work, we have utilized the Microsoft SQL server. And as I mentioned that we have the SADF tool. SADF stands for Synchro Measurement Application Development Framework. So it is mainly developed by the DTU Denmark. So they have developed this tool for mainly wide area monitoring applications, production applications, control applications. Like that, you can interface any real-time dynamic simulations with the MATLAB tool. Like you can see that the most of the cases we researchers we develop the tools in the MATLAB. So we need some interface between the RTDS and MATLAB. So for that, they have developed this SADF tool. So we have also utilized the same tool for capturing that synchronized data from the OpenPDC to the MATLAB, and we have done the post-processing, and we have utilized that data to feed the developed artificial neural network tool, and so that you can check that how these values, how the tool is working on the estimation of the inertia, and you can compare that what is the actual inertia and what is the estimated inertia. So in the validation, as I mentioned that we are capturing the voltage phasors, current phasors. From that, these are the basic equations I have just given just for reiterating how we are going to calculate the active and reactive powers from the voltage and current phasors. And furthermore, I would like to mention that we need to have some index for finding the error. What is the error between the predicted and actual value? And for that, so we have utilized the one absolute percentage estimation error between the actual and the predicted values of inertia values, so that you can see that what is the error between these predicted and actual values with respect to the actual value, and you can see that what is the percentage of that absolute percentage estimation error. So this is the completely about the what is the procedure, what are the steps in the development stage, what are the steps in the validation stage. So next we will see the how we can apply this development and validation procedure for one test system network. So in these slides, you can see that most of the things will be reiterating from the development and validation procedures. So I will explain how these procedures apply to the one IEEE standard network like that is IEEE 9-bus system. So as we know that it is also called as a Western System Coordinating Council 9-bus system, or it is also called as a PM Anderson 9-bus model. It mainly have the 3 synchronous machines So one is the G1 is the slack generator, G2, G3 are the remaining PV or PV buses. And we also have the 3 2-winding transformers, transmission line, 3 loads. So this is about the network. So what we are doing is we have the G1. So we are keeping the G1 as a constant and we are replacing the G2 and G3 one by one and simultaneously, so that we will have the 4 possible replacement scenarios. So in the first replacement scenario, you can see that in the first replacement scenario, we have replaced only G2, and the scenario 2, we have replaced only G3. So these 2 scenarios are corresponding to replace only single generator. So coming to the scenario 3, it is a simultaneous replacement of G2 and G3, and scenario 4, replacing one by one, replacing like one after that one generator. Like we are replacing one generator completely, and again we are replacing the another generator in the steps. So like that, we are taking the 4 replacement scenarios, and we have captured the data for all the things. So we have, as I mentioned, that we have taken the steps of 5% penetration of this power generation from the wind farms, and we have increased the 5%, 10%, 15, 20. So like that, 100% like that, we are completely replacing the synchronous generator G2 with the wind farms. And like that, we are replacing in the scenario 2, we are replacing the G3 completely with the wind farms at the 100% PE penetration. So like that, we are taking the 4 replacement scenarios. So after that, we would like to see that how the consideration of the induction motor load also affect this complete system inertia. So for that, what we have taken is, we have taken the 2 case studies. So one is excluding the demand side inertia and including the demand side inertia. As I mentioned that in the first case studies, we have taken the static models of the induction motors. In the case 2, we have taken the complete physical dynamical models of the accurate dynamical models of the induction motor, so that it will contribute the inertia to the system, and we can see that how this is induction motor loads are also contribute the system inertia. So as I mentioned that in the development procedure, first we need to do the power flow simulations. As I mentioned that we have utilized the DPL, Dixon Power Factory DPL code, and we have done the power flow simulations, and we have captured the data of the power system variables like active power, reactive power, voltage angles, voltage magnitudes, like all the variables for all the 4 replacement scenarios as well as these 2 case studies. So after that, we have done the correlation analysis. As I mentioned in the development procedure, we have mainly calculated the Pearson coefficient of coupling. So for that, we have calculated, as I mentioned, that Pearson coupling coefficient can be positive and negative. If it is a positive value, it indicates the positive linear correlation. If it is a negative, it indicates the negative linear correlation. So we want to see what is the absolute value as well as the actual value. And for that, we have taken the 3 studies. One is without induction motor, means like case 1 study, like excluding the induction motor loads and including the induction motor loads. In the case 1 study, we have taken the below the 50% and above the 50% of the PE penetration. So as you can see, we have all the power system variables, like we have the 60 power system variables for this IEEE 9-bus test system network. These 60 power system variables have been divided into 9 segments. These are divided into 9 segments to separate, to see how the different active powers, reactive powers, active powers of the transmission line, reactive power transmission lines, voltage magnitudes, voltage angles. So we have divided into the 9 segments. You can see that we have given the segment 1 to 8 mainly includes the active power of the synchronous generation, segment 1, and segment 2 is the reactive power of the synchronous generators. Segment 3 is the active power of PE, power interface generation, reactive power of the power interface generation, and segment 5 is the voltage magnitudes, 6 is the voltage angles, and 7 is the active power of the lines, 8 is the reactive power of the lines. So in the segment 9, what we have given is we have given the total active power generation, reactive power generation produced by the synchronous generation as well as the PE penetration. So for that we have taken the 5 segments. Sorry, we have taken the 5 bar charts. In that you can see that we have the active power generation from the SGs as well as PEIGs. So this will continue in the next three figures. In the next three figures also, we will have the same 9 segments. We will have the 60 variables. But of course, when you include the induction motor load, we will have the total power produced by the dynamic induction motor load. That is in the fifth of the segment 9, fifth bar chart of the segment 9. And if you see here, we also have the color coding. So red line indicates if the PCC value is equal to the absolute PCC value is equal to the 1, and magenta color indicates if the PCC value is in between the 0.91, and if you see the yellow color, it indicates if the PCC value is in between the 0.7 and 0.9, and if it is the PCC value is in between the 0.5 and 0.7, so that is indicated in the blue color. Unfortunately, we didn't get any variables having the PCC, absolute PCC in between the 0.5 and 0.7. And coming to the black color, it indicates if the PCC is less than the 0.5 values. So as I mentioned that, if the PCC value is nearer to the 1, that indicates the greater correlation. If it is a less value, it indicates the lesser correlation. So if you see that we have some variables which have the greater correlation, which have the one PCC value is equal to the 1, PCC value is equal to the 0.9, and PCC value is equal to the 0.7, in between the 0.7 and 0.9 or below the 0.5. So I will give what are those variables. So you can see that you can see that what are the variables. I will give that one. Coming to the active means what are the means coming to the PCC value having equal to the 1. So these are the active power of the synchronous generators, active power of the power electronic interface generation, and total active power generated by the synchronous generators, and total active power produced by the PEIGs. So these having the PCC value equal to the 1, that means these are the best power system variables which have the most correlation with the power system inertia, and these can be nominated as a best input for the inertia estimation forecasting tools. We also have the remaining variables, but those are like 0.7, 0.9, and 0.5, and we have only considered the 0.9 and above the 0.9, that is equal to the 1, and we have considered those variables as a best power system variables which have the high correlation and which will be as a best suit for the inertia forecasting tools. So like that, we also done for the 50 to 75%. So in this case also, we got the same variable, same power system variables or the attributes as a best power system variables. And you can see that when you increase the power system generation, so in that case, we haven't got any variable that has the stronger correlation like equal to the 1 PCC, but we have the in between 0.9 and 1. So we can consider those variables as a best power system variables. So as you can see in this also, we have the total active power generation from the synchronous generation, total active power generation from the power electronic interface generation, like total active power generation from the dynamic induction motor loads. These will have the PCC values in between the 0.91. So these can be taken as a best power system variables or the best power system attributes for the estimation of the inertia forecasting tools. So this is for when we include the induction motor loads, we got the one extra segment like total dynamic load in the system. That also come as a PCC equal to 1. That means that can be also nominated as a best input for the inertia forecasting tool. So what is the conclusion is like, so from this correlation analysis, so we concluded that we will have three best variables or the three best inputs that can be nominated as inputs when we consider the dynamic when we consider the accurate models of the dynamic induction motor loads. In case if you take the static models of the dynamic induction motor loads, in that case you can take the only two inputs, that is the total active power generation from the synchronous generators, total active power generation from the renewable energy generation. I think I forgot to mention one thing here. You can see here we have some negative values. So here we have the negative values. That means when we reduce the synchronous generation, inertia is going to reduce. That's why we have the negative PCC value for this one. Here also we have the total active power generation from the synchronous generation, total power generation from the synchronous power tonic interface generation. So these negative values indicates that when we increase the displacement of the synchronous generation, when we increase the penetration of the renewable integration, inertia value is going to reduce. That's why we got the negative correlation. That's why we got the -1 value. So that means that indicates a negative linear correlation. That means when one variable is increasing, that correlated variable is going to decrease. So that indicates the negative correlation. So finally, we have finalized what are the best three power system variables, what are the inputs. So as I mentioned that we have taken the 3 inputs, and we have taken the 3 inputs for when we go for the case 2 study, including the induction motor load, and we have finalized the 2 inputs when we are excluding the induction motor load. So after that, we need to split the data into the training, validation, and testing. As we know that we have the different, we can divide this data into the different ratios like 50, 25, 25%, 60, 20, 20%, or 70, 15, 15%. So what we have done is we have done the regression analysis. So that regression analysis also indicates the, if it is the close to 1, that means we have the, so we have that artificial neural network tool have the best correlation with the inputs, with the outputs. So we have done the different trial and error methods, and finally we found that 70% training, 15% validation, 15% test provides the best value of the regression, that is close to the 1, that is the 99.98%. So that we have taken this splitting of the data. So we have divided the data into the 70% for the training, 15% for the validation, 15% for the test, and we have done the training of that. We have done the training by using the 3 inputs or the 2 inputs and output as a system inertia, and we have utilized that, as I mentioned that we have utilized the MLP FFN. So this is what we have utilized in our work. So this is not limited. You can go for the any other one, but in our work we have utilized the MLP FFNN. So that is trained with the LMBP algorithm. This LMBP also we have utilized this one in our work, and you can also go with any other algorithm which you feel that give the better results than this LMBP algorithm. But however, we haven't done concentrate on that comparison between the LMBP algorithm or comparison between the other neural networks. So we have taken one standard one best, most utilized one, and we have utilized that one. And our main concentration is to how we can provide the procedure for the development and validation, how we can done for the one test system. So we haven't concentrated on the what are the different other types of how the different other neural networks will affect on this estimation, how the different training algorithm will affect on this inertia estimation. So we mainly concentrate on the only how we can demonstrate this procedure for the development as well as validation. So after that, as I mentioned that we have taken the statistical indicators like MAP and MSC, RMSC, and we have found the what is the best optimal number of the neurons in the hidden layer. So you can see that here we have done for the case 1 and case 2. So we have taken the 100 hidden neurons in the hidden layer, and we have varied from the 1 to 100, and we have find all these errors, and we have tabulated which are the best 5 minimum values for the case 1 and case 2. So as you can see for the case 1, so 12 is the best number of the neurons in the hidden layer. So for that we got the MAP, all the 3 errors we got the minimum values as compared to the other 4. For the case 2 we got the 83 is the best one. 83 number is the best number of the hidden neurons in the hidden layer for the case 2. So we have taken these numbers and we have done the training of the artificial neural networks. You can see here for the case 1 excluding the demand side inertia, we have the 2 inputs. As I mentioned that when you exclude the demand side inertia, we only have the 2 inputs. One is the total active power generation from the synchronous generation, total active power generation from the power tonic interface generation. We have the 2 inputs. From the statistical indicators, we found that poly is the best number in the hidden layer. We have the output layer. We have the output, one output as a system to a system equivalent inertia. So when you include the demand side inertia, so we have the 83 hidden neurons. We have the 3 inputs. As I mentioned that when you include the demand side inertia, we have the extra input like total dynamic load in the induction motor dynamic load in the system, in addition to the total active power generation from the synchronous generators, total active power generation from the polytronic interface generation. So what we have done, so this is just what is the procedure I mentioned in the validation, just I'm reiterating for the IEEE 9-bus network. So what we have done is we have modeled the same system, IEEE 9-bus system in the RTDS RSCAD, and we have simulated. So as I mentioned that we have the software GTNet PMU, so we can also have the hardware-based PMUs. So that can be connected to the RTDS platform, and we can capture all the phasors data from all the buses, and we can find all the power system variables like voltage phasors, current phasors, from those voltage angles, voltage magnitude, current phasors, current magnitudes, and from these voltage and current phasors you can measure the active and reactive powers. So we will have all the power system variables, but however we will capture all the power system variables by using this GTNet PMUs. What in our work we have captured this data at the rate of 50 samples per second. Of course, you can also go for the lesser sampling rate. If it is a 68, you can go for the 60 samples rate, maximum of that one. And we have acquired all this data by using the OpenPDC, as I mentioned in the conceptual view of the HAL facility at our university level. So I'm just reiterating how we have done for the IEEE 9-bus system. The same thing what I have mentioned, that first we will capture the data, next we will synchronize the data by using the OpenPDC, and we will transfer the data into the MATLAB by using the SADF tool. And after that, we will do the post-processing, which are the required one. Like we need the only power system variables like total power generation from the synchronous generation, total power generation from the power electronic interface generation, and total dynamic load in the system. So we will take only those three power system variables data, and we will import that data into the artificial neural network tool developed in the MATLAB platform, and we will see that how we will get the estimated values of the inertia, and we will see what is the error between the estimated actual value and predicted value. So I will give in the coming slides. So this is you can see the comparison for all the cases. So I have given for all the display generation like 0%, 10%, up to 100%. So in the scenario one, we have the G2 displays with the wind farm, and we have done for the two case studies. One is excluding induction motor load, case 2 including the induction motor load. So what we can observe is, we can see that when you see the case 1, case 2 values are larger than the case 1. So the reason behind this was we have included the dynamics induction motor load, and that will also contribute the inertia to the system, so that we have the larger values of the inertia as compared to the case 1, that is excluding the dynamic induction motor loads. So that is the first observation. And another observation, you can see that if you see the AP absolute percentage estimation error, if you see the case 2 related to the including the dynamics induction motor load. So in the case 2, we have considered the 3 inputs. In the case 1, we have considered the 2 inputs. So when we consider the 3 inputs, we are getting the less error as compared to the case 1. So what we can say is, when you have the availability of the dynamic induction motor load data, it is better to include that data as an input to the artificial neural network tool, so that you can reduce the estimation error. So this is for the case 1 and case 2. And coming to the case 3 and case 4, here also you can see the same observations, like when you see the values of the actual value, predicted value, those are for the case 2, we got the larger values due to the reason that we have included the inertia of the induction motor loads. And here also you can see that in scenario 3, in some few cases, we got the less estimation errors for the case 1. But in the most of the cases, we got the less estimation errors in the case 2. In some penetration levels, we got that one. Maybe like that may not require I think maybe when you have the less number of the inputs for the particular penetration, we may have the less error. Of course, error difference is very less, but we need to see that which one is the lesser and which one is the better one. So these are the things how we can develop the tool for the one test system like IEEE 9 test system, and how we have validated those tools for the different scenarios. Since we have taken the IEEE 9 system, it is a simple network. We have only the 3 generators, and we have taken the G1 as a slack generator and G2, G3 as the remaining 2 generators for the replacement. So we got only the less displacement scenarios. So when you go for the practical power system network, when you go for the larger IEEE test system, you will get the more scenarios and you will get the 2 case studies. So that is of the researcher's interest or the reader's interest. So coming to the conclusions, so what I have presented is, I have presented the what is the development and validation procedure of the artificial neural network based tools for the estimation or the forecasting of the power system inertia. So as I mentioned that, so we have given only the development and validation procedure, and you can apply this procedure to the any other network. Suppose even in the IEEE 9 test system network also, if one line is updated with the one HVDC line, so in that case, again, you have to repeat all the development stage and validation stage. Again, you have to find what are the best power system attributes, power system variables, and again, you have to train the neural network for that updated network. So this is just like updating our mobile with the Android OS. Like we are updating as per the requirement, as per the changing of the requirement, changing of the things. So what we can say that if you want to develop for the other network, this is the completely topology dependent. And if you want to develop for the other IEEE test system network, or if you want to develop for the other TSOs like real power system transmission network, so you have to do all the procedure, you have to follow all the procedure, and you have to train your tool and you have to test your tool by using the pilot testing, and you can go for after that, you can go into the real world power system network. So we have just given only the procedure and development, and this is the topology dependent, and you can apply for the any other network. So what are the advantages? What are the applications when we have the accurate estimation of the inertia? So as I mentioned that this inertia is mainly related to the rate of change of frequency. This rate of change of frequency utilized in the many applications like frequency-based load setting, like we have some production settings, we have some control settings. So I have given those things only, just reiterating those things only, like frequency load setting, local ROCOF, like we have the ride through and loss of mains, all these depends upon the ROCOF, and we have the stability constraint, system separation. So when we want to isolate the system, in that case also we will take the ROCOF and we will separate we will isolate the one part of the system from the other system. Like we will separate the system into the different regions, different areas by using this ROCOF. For that case also, we need the accurate estimation of the area inertia. We can also have the stability of the mitigation measures. We can have the settings for the frequency control methods. So like you can see that we have what are the different applications, what are the different things, control things are the production related things, which are based on the rate of change of frequency, all require the accurate estimation of the inertia. And when you go for the accurate estimation of inertia, without injecting any disturbance, when you are able to estimate the inertia by using from the normal operating the power system, you will have the accurate estimation, and you can go for the proper control actions, production actions, and proper settings for all these things. So this is about complete my presentation, and now we can have a questions. Thank you to all for your attention.
Participants can ask questions directly to the experts. If anyone have any queries. Please, ma'am, ask.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello, madam. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I am Dr. Jayashree, madam, from Textile and Engineering Institute, Ichilkaranji, Maharashtra State.
Okay.
Sir, you said that you have trained. It's a real-time experimentation that was done. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the training also should be in real time only then.
No. Training was offline actually. See, as I mentioned that training procedure was offline. Like we need to find what are the best inputs, and we need to train the tool, and we need to keep that training tool in the MATLAB.
Okay, sir.
So training is not actual real time. It is actually the offline process. And once we have done the training, and we can utilize the tool in the real time.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, was there any limitation of this in real time?
Can you repeat the question?
Was there any limitation?
Limitation, yeah, limitation. As I said, that this is completely topology dependent. As I mentioned, that suppose if there is a change in the network, definitely you have to again retrain the neural network and you have to test the network. Is that question? Is that answer to your question, or is that a different question?
No, sir. That is right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. Any other questions?
Any other queries? Sir, we have queries in chat box.
Okay.
Just let me check. Okay, the question from Dr. Nitin Padukare. In simulation, what is the significance of placing PMU? Since MATLAB sensor for measuring power system. Sir,
see, I think that was actually misunderstanding. Yeah. So actually, see, simulation we have done for the offline training process. It is not for the real time checking one. So in the design procedure only, in the design stage, development stage only, we have done the offline simulation, and we have found all the power system variables, and we have, that is only for finding the what are the best system variables or the system attributes for the which are the best correlated with the power system inertia. It is actually finding the best power system variables and training those data, utilizing those data for the training of the tool. Coming to the PMUs, it is actually we want to see nowadays power system network is moving to the wide area power system network, and from the wide area power system network we will have the voltage and current phasors. And what is our main objective was, we want to utilize data for inertia. We want to artificial intelligence so that we can have a some well established tool, and we can have a accurate estimation of the inertia. So that was the main thing. Like simulation, it was involved only in the development stage, and coming to the PAs, it was involved in the validation stage. It is not in the stage. So we don't need anything PMUs in the offline simulations.
Okay, and one more question from Dr. Balmukund Sharma. What is the challenges of inertia in electrical power system?
Challenges of inertia in
electrical power system.
Electrical power system. That means like challenges in inertia, like means what is the importance? Is that importance of the inertia in the power system? No, I didn't understand the question exactly. Means like what are the challenges? Means like in what challenges? Like challenges in the estimation, or challenges in the finding the inertia, or what is the importance of the inertia? So I didn't understand the question exactly. I think you might have missed some word in that question.
Okay, actually, Dr. Balmukund Sharma sir is here.
Yeah, you can ask.
Sir, please ask directly. It is better to answer your queries. Actually, he is in meeting but unable to ask.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. No problem.
And there are so many questions from his side.
What I can. Okay.
And one more question from Mr. Sheetla Prasad, Dr. Sheetla Prasad, how to design adaptive training function for ANN?
Adaptive training function.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that will be deeply into the. I mean, like I'm not the that much deep expert into the artificial neural networks. So I'm just using the ANN application to that one. So maybe I think I'm not the right person to answer that question. I think maybe I'm not that much expert to answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for delivering an informative talk on your development of an tool in wind forecasting. Thank you very much, sir, for spare your valuable time from your busy schedule for this FDP. Once again, thank you, sir, for your informative talk. Thank you.
And thank you too also for giving me, for contacting me and for giving me the opportunity to present in front of all the respected participants. And thank you to all for your patience and for your attention. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Raju, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello,
Sir,
sir. May I ask one more question?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Sir, in your training is you have gone for taking two cases and you have mentioned regarding the results in the form of figures where you have given in case one input number equal to 2 and output is 1, sir. So what is the meaning of this then? Output 1 means what is the meaning?
So output one means, see, our means we need to estimate the inertia value only.
Okay, sir.
So inertia is our output and input is the like what are the best inputs, system attributes. So output is always one since we are only estimating the inertia. So inertia is the output.
Mm.
Yeah. So that is our
Output
actual
is
output of
normalized one, sir. Inertia output is normalized. It's values between 0 and 1 only.
no. Inertia is not the normalized one. It is actually the actual inertia of the like we are mentioning in the into the megawatt second per MVA.
Okay, sir.
Like we can simply say that in terms of seconds. Like if you see that IEEE 9-bus system network, it may have the 5 seconds, like 5 megawatt second for MVA.
Okay, sir.
So we are giving the actual value in megawatt second per MVA, or we can also some TSOs will say as a seconds.
Okay.
Like up to 5 seconds, you can maintain that power balance. After that 5 seconds, you cannot do that one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, one more thing. You said you took the best input values.
Yeah.
Hmm. Sir, that means you just mentioned earlier that 60 inputs were taken corresponding to active power.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Actually, we are taking the all the 60 power system variables. Like if you see the IEEE 9-bus network, so when you take the voltage magnitudes, voltage angles at the all the buses, when you take the active power, reactive power of the lines, the synchronous generation, power turn interface generation. So when you take the all the power system variables, so in the development stage, what we have done is we have taken the all the 60 power system variables and we have done the correlation analysis.
Okay.
From that correlation analysis, out of these 60 variables, and we got the 3 are the best variables which are best fit for the this inertia estimation artificial neural network tool.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions you can ask? I think we have the time, 5 to 10 minutes. I think Vijay sir, I think we may not have the further questions. I think we may end this meeting. Oh my God, Vijay Pratap Singh also left.
we are in meeting. Some problem. We have disconnected.
So can we end the meeting, or I think we have the 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe if someone have the questions, we can answer those questions. Otherwise, we can end this meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Yasan Raju, for your valuable time, for your busy schedule for this lecture. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you to all. Thank you again. Have a nice day.
Same to you, sir. Thank you. So we will resume at 12 noon, and the speaker is from MNIT Allahabad, Professor Anand Kishore. And please, I request you all, please attend the session. Attend all session, otherwise your attendance will not be counted. In the first session, we have only 78 participants are present and remaining around 45 are absent. So please attend session, otherwise the attendance will be not counted. Thank you. And we will again start our session number 10 at 12 noon. Thank you.